You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I am your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy.
Yo,
more
I like
New
how you
World.
Put the emphasis
Yo,
on
hey
it tonight,
man, I know you like a little bit of flavor on it.
I do, yeah. More New World, man. I'm excited to talk about it, dude. I think we've got a good topic matter for tonight.
Yeah,
subject matter, topic matter
should be fun. Subject matter, yeah. Topic.
Topic.
But this
topic
is
matter.
listen, man. You need to stay in your lane, okay? You're the educated guy who speaks well and is well spoken. I'm the guy that doesn't know English very well.
We've been doing this for over a year now, and you are honestly rubbing off on me, bro. It's. Well,
I wish it was the other way around, to be completely honest. You need to rub off on me, dude. We're podcasting here. The only thing that we have is our audio and our speech. Okay,
you're just too influential, man.
Hey, man. I mean, I can get behind that a little bit, I guess. All right. So we got a good one, like Bordy said. Let's do some quick housekeeping real quick. Dude, New World's releasing in August. So if you want to be part of that closed beta experience in July, make sure you pre-order the game. So if you're interested in New World, you haven't pre-ordered yet, now's a great time. I guess better time than any, because I don't think the price is going to change ever for you. I don't think it's, July's going to be here before we know it. We were just talking before the episode, tomorrow's March 1st. When you're getting in this episode, it's March 1st. So there's 4 months, theoretically, or technically, 2, that until closed beta, dude. Isn't that nuts? 4 months.
Pretty wild. It's going to be here before we know it, dude. Time goes by so fast. We talk about that all the time. And it'll be here soon. We're old
too, though.
That's true. I mean? That's true, yeah.
Once you have kids, time evaporates, basically.
I would agree with that, yeah.
So another thing, just pre-order the game if you want to be part of the closed beta. Another great thing, it seems like the closed beta will be under NDA. So if you're unsure about the game, don't pre-order the game. Wait, watch people play closed beta. That should be the launch product for the most part, other than like bug fixes and stuff like that. So if you're not sure about New World, wait, listen to the podcast. Watch people play closed beta, visit New World fans, check it out before you buy it. That's my motto nowadays, especially in the landscape of all things video games. If you're not sure, don't pre-order. Wait it out.
Good advice from Sage Redbyrd.
Yeah, dude, it's the mustache. There's a lot of wisdom in there. Speaking of New World fans, guys, we got a lot of things in the pipeline for that. Our buddy Taken's working on something extremely exciting. We don't want to spoil it yet, but he should have that done soon. TM, hashtag soon, or quotes, air quotes, soon. And so keep an eye over there on New World fans. We got tons of content coming your way, updates to the map, all the guides, more guides coming. We're excited about New World, and that's the place to be if you are too. So tonight, Bordy, our main topic, the only topic we have tonight. Not a ton of New World news on the New World front. We will mention that there is like this dog thing going on, but by the time you're watching this YouTube video, it's probably already been figured out. If you haven't seen it, go watch our YouTube video that we posted yesterday on what is it? Dog Meaties? I don't know.
Bark Meaties or something like that. I don't remember.
Took over the New World account. Long story short, it seems like they're teasing pets for New World, and we kind of break that down in that video. At this point, you guys probably already know more than we do. Future you knows more than past us, because we're recording this Sunday night. But there's a lot of activity on the Twitter account, so go check that video out if you're interested in stuff like that. So tonight we are going to talk about the Endgame at New World. Now, we got a pretty interesting dump of information before last podcast episode. And one of the things now, or one of the things that I think is true, Bordy, is that they kind of spilled the beans there. That seems to be, for the most part, the features that we're going to get at launch. Would you agree or disagree?
I would think so, man. We're so close to launch now, being 4 months out. I would think that we have all of the like main features would be my guess, but who knows? They may drop something on us. But my gut feeling is yes, I agree with that. I think that we have all the features we're going to have on release would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah, as they work these in, obviously they've got some, they're going to continue to give us alpha patch notes. We'll know more. Maybe, the sheer number of expeditions, we don't know how many types of Outpost Rush or whatever. We're not unsure of at this time, but we're going to go through each feature that we think, they're kind of leaning towards for launch and kind of break these down, Bordy, and kind of look at them, maybe compare them to some MMOs we've played before. And then kind of talk about, what the end game and New World's going to look like now that they've updated some of the features here, Bordy. So the first section that we're going to go through, and I think it's everybody's favorite section, or most people's favorite section, is PvE. Now, Bordy, we knew about invasions a long time ago. Now, invasions are a 50-player game mode that you basically team up with 50 other New World explorers, and you go into a horde mode full of corrupted enemies. So, Bordy, this, to me, I know we talked a little bit about potential raids, but this might be New World's version of raids, honestly.
It may be, and invasions are pretty cool, man. I had the chance to participate in some during the preview event. They're really, really cool. It's very unique. It's a very unique take on something that you don't really see a lot in the MMO space, the MMO world. I like them. I think it feels like the way they tie into the faction system and the downgrading of the settlements, and that does feel a tad bit underwhelming, but it is a cool feature, and hopefully they'll continue to work on that and make it feel a little bit better. But I think right now it's good. I think it's fun. I think it's a good feature. The only problem is it is time gated, and so you can't do it all the time. So it's one of those things that only pops up every now and then. So you may or may not, depending on your play schedule, when you get to play, you may or may not be able to participate in an invasion. That's the biggest downside to an invasion.
Sure, and there are a lot of territories. Obviously, you would think that at least one is going to have an invasion during the window in which we play. Sometimes, not every night, but some nights of the week there should be some scheduled for for us to enjoy, or for people that play late or play early or whatever. That is a concern. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that later. One of the things, Bordy, about these invasions are they're pretty unique to New World. I've never seen anything like this in an MMO.
Yeah, it is unique for sure.
So it's it's good. I like New World trying new things for sure in the MMO space, because I think this is an amazing genre, one that you and I both spend a ton of time in. We grew up playing games like this, so it's kind of cool to see someone try to figure out some different types of game modes like invasions that will keep people interested and intrigued. Now, invasions do have some weight with them. They do set back your settlement. If whatever the settlement the invasion occurs in, it does set back the shops. So if you have a tier 5 engineering shop, it potentially gets set back to tier 4 or whatever. But those are the main weight of these invasions. Now, they haven't really told us what the loot or what the rewards are going to look like in these. But that seems to be the gist of it. You're trying to protect your settlement from getting set back by the corrupted.
Yeah.
All right. So the new one that we have here is expeditions. Expeditions are 5-player dungeons. They've mentioned that they're going to add multiple expeditions at launch, Bordy. So this could be their more organized version or small group version of PvE. And it remains to be seen. Obviously, the gameplay. I'm sure they're going to release some soon. But what do you think, Bordy? Invasions and expeditions for PvE in-game content.
Yeah, and I think there's more too. Let's talk about expeditions first. So expeditions are, we don't know how many there's going to be yet, right? Like we have no idea how many dungeons there expeditions there's going to be on release. So hopefully there's a lot of them, and hopefully they range from mid to late game, and hopefully at end game there is a ton of them for us to participate in and to do, and hopefully they give us a reason to continue to run those at end game, because I think that's a big key too. If you have them in there and you only run them once and then you're done and there's no reason to go back and repeat that content, then then you kind of have a problem with your in game there because there's not going to be enough to do. So that's kind of my take on expeditions. I think that it's definitely headed in the right direction. If they have a lot of them, that's going to be awesome. I don't know how many they'll need on release to make really good, solid in-game PvE content, but invasions plus expeditions, and hopefully, expeditions are something that you ought to be able to do just whenever you get a group together and you go run them. That shouldn't be any kind of time gated issue there. So good, man. I think they're on the right path. We're finally seeing some mid to end game content here, and expeditions is a good step in that direction for sure.
For sure. And like you mentioned, it remains to be seen how many of these expeditions will, or if they go the leveled path where, and not a lot of things scale in New World. So I would assume like an expedition is set for like a level range, like 25 to 30 or, whatever, potentially, I would think that they're going to add some like in-game expeditions where you have to be max level to compete in. We don't know how many they're going to be, but you assume there's going to be at least one. You would hope more, but we'll see. Maybe they are going to introduce some sort of scaling system for the expeditions. We don't know that yet, but that's it for PvE content. You said there's some other stuff. What do you?
I think there's a few more things for in-game PvE content. So corrupted portals are one of them. I know that corrupted portals you can start doing pretty early, but you can also do them late into the game. There are level 65 corrupted portals that we've seen during the preview event that you could run. So that's another in-game content you can do. And I think with the Azoth sync into crafting, people are going to want to go run those corrupted portals at in game, and plus you get gear for those corrupted portals that you can sell. So I think corrupted portals need to be mentioned there. Also, legendary item quests or something you can do it in game. Those are locked, until you get up to like level 50 or something like that. You have to venture way on up, or at least this is how it was in the preview event. You had to go up into the Shattered Mountains and then run the legendary item quests. And there's a bunch of them now because there's legendary quests for each weapon in the game. So there's going to be a bunch of those to run, and there's also the PvE arenas that we have to run too with just the bosses. You got to go get the keys, like the Spriggan key. You go get the key, and then you run the arenas. And I think there's a couple of those. So there's quite a bit actually. There's actually quite a bit of in-game PvE content to participate in at this point, man.
Yeah, and like you said, the arenas are something that's very unique and interesting too. With New World, I enjoy that they're trying something new with this. It's like kind of reminds me of Atonement in WoW, where you had to get atoned to enter into a raid before you could go in. Finding this key is kind of a pretty cool little hidden thing that hopefully they can figure out some unique drops or gear or something that only drops in those arenas. And I hope they give that the same treatment in all of their in-game PvE content, whether it's crafting material or a particular piece of gear you have a percentage drop chance on, something like that, to keep this interesting. And like you said, keeping a loop, because that's the main thing. People aren't going to rerun a lot of this stuff if there isn't a drop chance for some particular piece of item that you can get, and maybe it's crafting, who knows, but I think Azoth is a pretty good reason. Like corrupted portals, you get a lot of Azoth for running the portals, so in game you'd want to go run those, but the problem there is that you can still go run like level 25 portals or whatever, the low level portals, and still get Azoth instead of going and running the in-game portals. So but you do get gear that scales with level based on the difficulty of the portal, so that's good. Right. Yeah, and so New World again, and I think a lot of us are kind of prone to comparing a game like New World that's just coming out to games that have been out for like 10-15 years now, and that's just not fair, number one. And it's not, I don't think it's productive, because we, as a New World, as a MMO community, we are dying for new stuff. We're dying for a new IP. We're dying for a new game to play and to sink into. And comparing to games that have been out for 15 years isn't probably the best way to look at things like this. Obviously, that's easier said than done, Bordy, because honestly, one of the things that New World has going to have to compete for is time, right? It's competing for all of our time. Is our time better spent trying out a new MMO than playing the one that we already know and have already spent 2,000 hours in? So,
Yeah, true, which is where I think the innovations come in, and that's why they have to be different than the other
Right,
MMOs. And I think they're doing a pretty good job of that so far. We harp on it all the time. Combat and environment in this game are bar none some of the best we've ever seen, and they're so much different than any other MMO out there right now. That alone is enough to entice, I think, a select group of people to come play. Now, the other aspect is what you do, and I think the in-game discussion is incredibly relevant to how long they'll retain players. And keep them in the New World realm versus them going back to WoW or something like that. But you make a great point there that we can't really compare the launch of New World to today's World of Warcraft and the amount of content that's there. The amount of in-game content that's in World of Warcraft took many years to develop. The amount of content that's in ESO's in-game took many, many years to get to. And Final Fantasy XIV took a long time to get to. So I think, comparing the launch of New World to these other products, like you were saying, that have been out forever is incredibly unfair. You have to look back to their launch too and see the type of in-game content they had and what New World's going to offer on launch. You're not going to get everything all at once. It's an evolving overtime thing where you get all this content for an MMO.
And one thing I will mention as far as New World's team goes is they are very dedicated to delivering constant flow of content, which is like one of the biggest assets I think you can have in MMO development and for a player base. Because, I've played games that don't get updated very frequently at all. You're waiting forever for a new patch, months, potentially sometimes a year. So, the rate they're updating this game monthly at this point, and they said they plan on continuing to do that through launch. So, a month is a decent amount of time to get, ingrained and get to max level and start experiencing some of the things New World has to offer, and then hopefully by that time we'll get some new content to try, and the clock keeps ticking, dude. It'll be interesting to see how the game is received, and closed beta is going to be a really interesting time, I think, for the game, to where everybody can kind of witness or see or even try out all of these new features.
Yeah, absolutely. Closed beta is going to be a very important time for the game for sure, because that's going to, I would assume closed beta is going to lift the NDA. And so a lot of people are going to be able to see what's going on in the game, and a lot more people are going to get to play, all the people that pre-ordered. And hopefully, closed beta goes well. And I hope they have all of their features implemented, and it's just a matter of kind of bug polishing at that point from beta to launch. So we'll see, man. It's going to be an interesting time come July.
Yeah, it will be for sure. So here's the other side of the coin, Bordy, and that's PvP. So it's our favorite topic. So in the PvP realm for Endgame, we have Sieges, which is 50v50 warfare for territory. It's instance, which I think is a great improvement or innovation to large group PvP and MMOs.
Yeah, I think so. I had a chance to participate in some wars as well, or some sieges as well, and they're a ton of fun, man. And I think the 50v50 experience is very good. It's interesting. It's fun. And it keeps people from getting zerged down like in all these other MMOs. It just keeps these huge zergs from coming and taking over a piece of territory, and you're not being able to do anything about it. So the even 50v50 warfare is great. I like that aspect of it a lot. But again, it's time gated, so that's the big negative, and that's a pretty big negative in my opinion. But the sieges are a lot of fun whenever you can get in one.
Yeah, for sure. And again, these are also play an in-game feature. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm stepping over my words, brother. These also play a part in territory control. So these sieges only go down when two factions are at a head as far as conflict goes. So, and this will determine who either maintains control of the settlement and the government and sets the laws for like taxes and everything like that, or a new company comes in and takes over. And they've mentioned several times that they're going to release more information on some changes of that system. So I look forward to seeing that, Bordy. Maybe Outpost Rush has a little thing to do with it. We'll see. But yeah, dude, seizures I think are a great thing, and I'm definitely a good take on a large group PvP in an MMO. So the next one is a new one, Bordy. We have Outpost Rush, just like we thought about, or just like I just spoke about. 20v20 zone control PvPvE. What do you think here, Bordy? I know we haven't played this yet, but we've had a lot of chance to talk about it. What do you think is Outpost Rush as a new PvP feature?
I think it looks amazing. We did a video over this. We went pretty in depth about, kind of analyzing all the screenshots and all that good stuff that we put out a while ago. And we've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast as well. And I like it a lot. I think it's really, really good. And I'm excited to get another PvP feature because we haven't seen one in a while. And it's good to know that they're still working on PvP because PvP is what I love. That's why I wanted to play this game initially anyway, is for the PvP aspect. So I'm incredibly excited that they have some other PvP mode. I hope and pray it's not some time-gated issue and that this is something I can get in and play anytime I want, whenever I want. And I hope that somehow it ties to the faction system as well. And, one of the things I would like to see, man, I would like to see them figure out a way to not time-gate the wars. I don't know how you would do that though. Right now, to be honest, I don't know what the answer would be other than some sort of like lattice system similar to how ESO does it with Cyrodiil. But then you get into Zergs and all that stuff because it's not instanced. But I think one potential solution could be you use maybe Outpost Rush all the time to capture specific outposts in this territory, in the settlement, and then once all of those outposts are captured, then you get to go in and fight in the siege maybe or something. I don't know, something to make it flow a little bit better so it's not like you'd still have to be on at a certain time, I guess, but at least you could participate in Outpost Rush all the time to push it forward to that, even if you didn't get to participate in the actual siege. And then sometimes, if that was the case, then the siege wouldn't be scheduled at 9:00 p.m. on a whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. But also on release, the sieges are going to be scheduled by the controlling company anyway. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I'm just not a fan of the time-gated thing. But Outpost Rush, dude, can't really speak on it a ton. But what we've seen so far looks like it's going to be dope, dude. I'm super excited to check it out.
Yeah, I think that to your point on the sieges, I think you have to completely separate them from territory control, which may be not such a good thing.
Yeah, which would kind of suck, really, to be honest. So it's like I don't know. That's a very, very tough problem to figure out. And time gated may be the only way to go there. But it just kind of sucks for those of us that can't get on and participate in those all the time when we want to,
Yeah, it's tough. So now other PvP features we'll have at Endgame are basically concluded with PvP quests. The way you influence, or at least the only way right now, we kind of hope or assume that Outpost Rush may have something to do with the influence as far as your particular faction and the control of the settlement. But right now we just have the PvP quest, Bordy. So what do you think endgame PvP quests are going to look like? And here's another thing about that is like, how is that going to affect new players' experience?
Yeah, I mean, new players just wouldn't flag, I guess, unless you want a PvP. I guess if you get in late, you may just not want to flag until you're max level or until you're, level 50 or something, and then flag up, which I think is okay. It just kind of does suck if you get in late that you can't participate in that open world PvP until you leveled up a little bit,
Well, then it kind of kills the only benefit or the only reason flag right now is to get that increased XP gain. So then it's kind of becomes awkward because it's like, well, new players who need the XP can't flag because they're going to get raffle stomped by 60s and 60 player. I mean, obviously, unless you're playing into territory control and everything like that, 60s don't need the XP gain. So
yeah, it's an interesting topic, man. And I can't wait until we get this new information about factions that they have alluded to in the last patch notes, because I want to see what they're doing. And I'm going to be real honest, dude, it wouldn't surprise me at all if open world PvP were done away with. I
Don't
wouldn't
say
be
that,
surprised.
Bordy. Take that out of your mouth.
Listen, man. I just to be clear, I do not want that to happen at all. At all. Open world PvP is my favorite PvP because the encounters there are so random, so scattered. You never know what's going to happen. You never know if there's going to be mobs involved or not. You don't know where the other player is going to run to. It's not controlled. It's chaotic. It's so fun, man. Those encounters are some of the most fun PvP encounters in MMOs, I think, hands down. But it would not surprise me if it were done away with altogether and the Outpost Rush somehow took the place of that. And so now we don't have PvP faction missions. Maybe the faction missions are now within Outpost Rush, and that's part of how you gain territory or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if
maybe
the reveal.
I could see where maybe the influence gain is tied to Outpost Rush for sure. It would not be nice to have both because then that makes more sense to me. I don't know, man. It's tough. I
just see the direction. The direction the game has been heading has been one of more controlled environments. It's been a theme park type of setting that we're headed to versus a sandbox. And in theme parks, you have rides that you go ride, and if you want to go ride the PvP ride, then you go ride that ride. Well, that's why I feel like that could be a possibility. I hope it's not, dude. I really do. But I feel like that could be. I feel like the potential for that to happen is there with this next big announcement for the faction rework. I don't know. I want to know what it is because the faction system to me is one of the biggest in-game loops that's out there right now is the undermining of the territory to lead up to the sieges and then the constant back and forth between controlling the territory. That's kind of what the end game in my mind was supposed to be for New World. And right now it's kind of shifted to be other things. And so I don't know what's going to happen now. The faction system right now is kind of in limbo and it really doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm excited to see what they have in store. I'm going to be bummed out if they remove open world PvP, though.
Yeah, I can't see them doing that. I could definitely 100% see them tying the outpost, Outpost Rush into particular, maybe even controlling outposts within a territory. And maybe, you have to control maybe a majority of the outposts before you can declare for war. That would be interesting. Also, tie it to the influence system, I think is very, very viable, which is like, PvP quests are good, but you can also go compete in Outpost Rush and gain points for or influence for your territory or faction as well. I think those two things together would make for a very interesting territory control system because there's multiple ways you can compete and it happens to tie in PvE a little bit to the territory control system because as we know or as we assume, I think they've mentioned it's a PvE activity. So now if you're a PvE player, you do have some control over the influence of a territory if Outpost Rush is tied to that.
Yeah, which would be cool.
Yep. So that's it, dude. That seems to be the end game. So I got some questions for you before we tie this bad boy up here.
Okay.
All right. So do we think this is a $1 million question? Do we think this is enough for a launch product of an MMO?
I think I think there are enough features in here for in-game right now. I think the key here is like we were talking about before is having the loop to rerun these things before people get tired of them or bored of them until they can release the next expansion for the game. I think that because let's recap the PvE side real fast. You have invasions, you have expeditions, you have legendary item quests, you have corrupted portals, you have PvE arenas. That's quite a bit of stuff to keep you busy, I think.
For sure.
Especially if there's 5 dungeons or 5 expeditions on release that are 60 plus, and there's a reason to go run those over and over and over again. I think that's fine. I mean, look at other MMOs. There's other MMOs that launched I don't know of an MMO that launched with just a boatload of dungeons to complete on release, right? There was just a few
in-game dungeons. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those came later and then again later and then again later. And so with every expansion, there's kind of a new expedition or a new dungeon for other MMOs on there. And so I would think that New World will kind of take that same path. Every expansion, there'll be a new expedition. But I think the whole thing here is that you have to have a reason to run this in-game content over over and over again. Legendary item quest, you're only going to run them once. You're going to get the item, and then you're going to be done. Potentially maybe they can mix it up so that your legendary items give you different perks and different things, and so that whenever you run the legendary item quest, you're after a specific one, so you would run it multiple times to get that exact perk you want, and then maybe even collect all of them at some point, so you could run them a few times. That might not be a bad idea. I don't know. But just something to have players do this over and over and over. The PvP side, PvP is PvP, man. I think I think you add a good arena in a game, a good PvP arena, a good battleground, something like that you can just jump into and run over and over and over. Like if Outpost Rush is not time gated, it's something that we can jump into as PvP players and use it to level. If we can use it to level, which I don't know if we'll be able to, but if we can use it to level plus use it as in-game content, dude, the PvP players just want a PvP, man. That's what it boils down to. So it's like you don't have to do anything incredibly unique or crazy. Just give us a reason to PvP and give us a reason to fight. And then that content is replayable infinitely for us over and over and over because it's a competitive thing. We'll just do it over and over and over, or at least I will. And I think most PvP players feel the same way. So it's not like you have to have all these different modes for PvP. Just a couple of good ones, and we're there. So hopefully Outpost Rush fits that bill. I wouldn't mind seeing something smaller too, like some 5v5 style battleground, some 4v4, something like that. I like a little bit smaller, toned down experience with a group of guys that I can kind of rely on versus trying to pull in 19 other dudes to play. So yeah, man, that's kind of my take. I think it's enough as long as the replayability is there. I think it's enough features. We just got to be able to replay it.
I agree. The main thing is the loop, right? There's got to be some sort of loop that we don't know about yet, obviously, to keep people coming back. Because if it's a one-off, then I mean, there will start to be, you always want to be able to recycle your content in some way that keeps players logging in again and again and again. And I think, honestly, the answer is, we probably haven't seen that loop yet because it may come after launch. Again, a month or 2 months is not a long time for most people that can dedicate about 2 or 3 hours to a video game every day. I think we'll be doing well to hit Endgame and enjoy all the in-game features in a month or 2 months. So, yeah, I definitely think there's some room there as well. Here's my next question for you, Bordy. Okay. Do you think more will be added post-launch, and I mean particular activities, and if so, what? Again, we speak about New World having such a unique spread of content or activities. What more would you like to see them add? And I think I can think of a big one right now, but what are your thoughts? I mean,
raids, I think, would be the next logical progression in PvE. And then PvP, like I said, I would love to see some more toned down, a little bit more competitive, small group PvP. That's more at my level. I really, really enjoy that type of stuff. And just give us a queue that we can jump into, like 2v2, 3v3, all the way up to 4v4 maybe even a free-for-all mode, something like that somehow...
That would be chaotic.
It would be chaotic. It'd be fun. I would enjoy it. But I don't know how that looks. And here's the thing, man, I also think that it's very important for all these things to tie into the overall game loop, right? Like it's great to give us a competitive mode to do in 4v4 PvP, but if all the PvP players, if that's your best mode and all the PvP players are jumping in that mode to run it because it's so much fun, and then you're not doing Outpost Rush or open world PvP to undermine territories, well, then the whole game loop is thrown off. So it has to somehow still tie into the overall game loop with undermining the territory, that ties into the sieges, that ties into Outpost Rush. If they can do that, I think that'd be great. But I think that's about the only other thing I would see after launch would be like some small scale PvP stuff. And then on the PvE side, maybe some raids. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of like large scale raids, not my thing, but I think that's probably the next logical progression. Other than that, I think just continuing to add expeditions, but that wasn't the question. You're asking for specific activities. So that's it, man. That's all I can think of off the top of my head anyway.
Yeah. One of the things that interests me about is the setting of New World being an island. I think potentially down the line, I'd like to see them explore some sort of naval content. I mean, we're all like explorers and pirates anyways, so potentially that could also be there. But I agree. Arenas, 2v2, 3v3, you can even tie in the influential system there. Whereas if you win your 2v2 for your faction, maybe you get a little bit of influence, or whatever in that territory. What's hard with this instance stuff is how are they going to tie it to a territory, right? Are we going to have like 10 different outpost rush that you queue for? Because that could get, that queue could be pretty long if we're queuing in each territory for that activity.
Right. So you go up to like the board in each of those settlements and have to queue for Outpost Rush or for some small scale PvP, and that's the territory you're gaining influence in. Right. Yeah, I don't know how that would work, but maybe that would work. Because right now it's kind of the same way. You have to go to the territory to run those specific sieges, quests to undermine that specific territory, and then you fight in the siege to gain control of that territory. So maybe that would work. Maybe you just have a sign up board there. Once it's filled up, then if you're out in the world, maybe it just teleports you to the instance to fight, and then after that it teleports you back to the settlement, or to the closest settlement you were at before, or whatever, the settlement you signed up for it at, or whatever. Kind of like they do with sieges right now, or did in the preview event. You signed up for a siege, you got teleported there, and at the end of it they sent you back to wherever whatever settlement you signed up at. You signed up at the fort, but you get the gist, to the territory that you signed up at. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how they would do it. I just want to see it all tied together somehow and make the gameplay loop meaningful. I don't want to have these one-off things you go do just because you want to go do them. I want to see it all tie into the overall gameplay loop. I think that would make for a much better product in the end.
Yeah, one of the things that I didn't mention that I think would be really cool for in-game that they haven't added yet for gatherers and crafters is land management of not just a home, but like a homestead where you can maybe
farming,
plant and farm. And I think New World lends itself to something like that really well. Or you can create, like a blacksmithing place, that people can maybe, just like you can visit homes, Bordy, in the territory. You can kind of like go look at your friend's home or visit like the top rated home. Maybe they have like a homestead out there somewhere where you can go and click on and you can visit different homesteads. And see people's
that would be cool.
farm or blacksmithing station and stuff like that. I think that'd be really neat, man. Last question here, and this is one that we kind of have been foreshadowing. Is it a concern for New World that half of their big like in-game features are tied to time gating? So then that means and it's particularly what we're talking about in this episode is they're not available all the time. So if I want to hop on and run an invasion or hop on and experience a siege or a 50v50 siege, I'm not going to have that option all the time. It's not going to be available to where like, if it was a raid or something, I could always like, just work out a raid schedule with my guild and just whatever works for everybody we could do.
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately it is an issue for the game, man. That's just my opinion. I know other MMOs out there are very successful, have some time-gated content in there, but I'm personally never a fan of time-gated content, and I know a lot of other people that aren't either. And what ultimately ends up happening to some people is they want to run the in-game stuff. They want to participate in, the big-ticket items that are, a big part of the game, and in New World's case, sieges and invasions are a huge part of the game. It's something that people are going to be talking about in game. It's something that people are going to be able to experience in game. And if you're one of those people that are left out of that experience, you're going to feel left out. And oftentimes what happens is that you go to a game that you don't feel left out in, or that you can participate in all the content in. And I do worry about that with New World with this. I've worried about that from day one since we found out how these sieges and invasions were going to work. And man, it is concerning to me. I don't know what they'll do. I don't know that it's even going to hurt the player base that much, as long as they have other things to do, like Outpost Rush to satisfy the PvPers that you can do all the time, which hopefully that's the case. And then hopefully, like expeditions and things like that. But invasions are so much different than expeditions or any other PvE content in the game that people are going to want to play in those. And because they're time gated, it's like, dude, it's going to suck. It's going to suck real bad when you really want to do one and you can't do one, or you can only do one like once a month or whatever. Like I don't know, man. I've never been a fan of time gated content in MMOs. I think it's bad. I think it's real bad. So I that's probably what we're going to end up getting, because I don't know any other way around it with the way everything's structured. But it's a concern for me, man. For sure it is.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen just how frequent these will happen. Obviously, with invasions, how quickly will the corrupted influence gather there? And then also with the sieges, are they just going to stagger them throughout the day of a siege? But, I mean, how can they do that if it's all player controlled, right? If no one's doing PvP quests in that zone, or that particular, that current faction or that current company has the place locked down. I mean, there may be no sieges to play for like weeks on end, because none of the territories ever change hands, because, one or two or three or 8 particular companies have such a dominant hold on those places. Potentially they may never be a siege to play.
Yeah, which is true. And I think that's a concern too that we've talked about before. So we'll see, man. There's big changes apparently coming for the faction system. So we'll see. Dude, me too. I cannot wait to see what those are. I think that is the biggest missing piece to this whole puzzle. And once they figure that out, I think the gameplay loop will be very, very nice. So or at least I hope it is. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm confident. I'm excited to hear about it, because, like you said, it needs a little bit of love, and I want to see what direction they're going to head in. All right, man. Yeah, well, that does it for our in-game discussion. It's been a good one. How about we go into the company of the week here, Bordy?
Yeah, man. The company of the week this week is Knights of Shadowhawk. What a freaking awesome name, dude. Region NA, faction undecided, language English, focuses PVX, size 51+. They are currently recruiting. Knights of Shadowhawk is a namesake that spans many years in multiple games. They're solid core players and real-life friends that are looking to take over the next new MMO. With years of playing together and awaiting another MMO, they're looking forward to expanding the guild prior to the release of New World. And that kind of the history of who Knights of Shadowhawk are. Just really, really recommend going and reading that if you're interested in this and being a part of this company. It says Knights of Shadowhawk is looking for some dedicated players to expand our hold on the inception of New World. PvP players, they're looking for PvP players. They're also looking for casual players, hardcore players, and just any generally mature players that want to enjoy the game together. So it says they're inviting MMO experts and novices alike. They want to play, have fun, PvP, and take over New World. So they have a cool website here that we'll link in all of the descriptions below. Obviously, their Discord is here too. And if you want to read their history and more about Knights of Shadowhawk, all of that information is going to be down below in the description, the YouTube description, and on all of the podcast descriptions.
Yeah, we thank you guys for using New World Fans, obviously, to promote your guild. If you have a company that you'd like to promote, go over to newworldfans.com, create an account. It's free. You can advertise your company and what you're all about over there, and you might get on the podcast, guys. You may just be featured on another episode of New World to Go. All right, Bordy. Well, it's been a great one, dude. Hopefully next time we talk, we know all about Barkenstein or whatever the heck that dog's name is. We can talk more about that.
Barkimedes.
Yeah, he's a philosopher, which is interesting for a dog. Bordy, why don't you tell people? You know what? No, don't do that. Just tell people how to find Studio Loot. How about that?
Yeah, at Studio Loot on Twitter, youtube.com/Studio Loot. That's it, man.
All right, That's it. Great job, Bordy. We're so thankful to have you guys. We're excited, guys. Like we said, 4 months until closed beta. We'll have tons of New World coverage for you here on the podcast, on over at New World Fans and the YouTube channel, leading up to and after launch. We can't wait to play New World and share New World with you guys. We're extremely excited to be part of this community. It's been a year and something, and we're continuing to truck on, and we know all y'all are too, and we're excited to be part of it. So thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.